Time for another coffee with Kilroy. Got my coffee, and guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a sip. I'm going to get it right out of the way because we have a lot to cover today because we are up to issue or number 56 of Fire and Movement, the Forum of Conflict Simulation, and I'll put a link to my Fire and Movement playlist, my introduction to Fire and Movement, and all those other kind of goodies. But this one right here is from 1988, and it is a feature, or the feature game is Central America. It says close-up analysis, Central America victory games. And out of all the fire movements that I've covered to date, which I'll put a link to all that, this is the first issue where one game has really commanded most of the space. Now, we also have some stuff in here about the Charles S. Roberts Awards, and a Charles S. Roberts interview, and a whole bunch of stuff on that, and I'll kind of cover that as I go through. And in fact, this was the one when I did my introduction to the Charles S. Roberts, talking about the 2024. This was the issue that I had at my friendly local gaming store and pulled out and showed you some stuff in here, but we'll see that again as we page through here. But by the time I post this, I think the Charles S. Roberts Awards will be over. I think. So we've got a big article here. We have Clash of Arms games, La Bataille, and then we also have Team Yankee. So another thing about this issue is there's a lot of focus on modern warfare. So you have Central America, which it's modern warfare, and then you've got this World War III with Team Yankee, and then we'll see some other modern stuff in here as well. So the cover is Central America. We're going to do a deep dive into that in this issue. Design history, counterattacks drive on Frankfurt, U.S. versus USSR, future warfare in West Germany. So there we are, back to modern warfare again. And then a year in review of Fire and Movement's annual report covering 1987 and the future of wargaming. Yes, is wargaming doomed? Is it over? Is the golden age over and it's all doomed? Well, this is 1988, and guess what? In this issue, and we are alive and well, and wargaming is cranking along. The reports of its demise were greatly exaggerated. At least that's my opinion. This firing line, he's got some regular features here talking about like the popularity of solitaire games in 1987. So we're talking about Saint Nazaire, the raid on Saint Nazaire, and then the Patton's Best, which was a tank game. These are Avalon Hill games. Solitaire wargaming is still alive today as well. Here's a reader's poll. Talking a little bit about, let's look at that. Most played board games of 87 was Advanced Squad Leader, and then Flight Leader, and then A House Divided. Most played computer games, Silent Service, Gettysburg, and Camp Grupa, and these were SSI games, except for the MPS was Silent Service. Favorite game company, Game Designers Workshop, followed by Avalon Hill, and then Victory Games, which is, again, an offshoot of Avalon Hill. Favorite article was Squad Leader Tactical Games, Fire Movement 53, and I covered that. I have that 53, and that is, look at my Fire and Movement list there. Least favorite game purchase of 87, Russia by SSG, Knights of Justice 3W, and Tank Leader by WEG. Ooh. Favorite movie was Hamburger Hill, followed by Empire of the Sun, then Star Trek 4. Favorite TV show, Tour of Duty, Frank's Place, and Soldiers on PBS. Interesting. All right. Well, enough of that. Let's get on with this stuff. All right, here we go. This is Charles S. Roberts. It's kind of a cool little thing here. Charles S. Roberts were founded in 1974. This is up to 86. And I might have to go a little bit closer in here to show you the chart of who's in the Hall of Fame and who won each year for the different categories. Now, we have more categories today, but there's more stuff to look at today. Here's an interesting article, a little bit about Monarch, which was the owner of Avalon Hill, and about some of the financial problems that Avalon Hill was going through. And of course, they brought on Victory Games, or basically there was a lot of people from SPI that came on to start up Victory Games, which was an offshoot of Avalon Hill. But that's a whole nother story. But this is, again, 88. So, how many years left do we have of Avalon Hill from there? And here's an article about Charles S. Roberts by Roger McGowan, the late Roger McGowan, who was the founder of Fire and Movement. And it's a really interesting article there. And then there's an interview with Charles S. Roberts. So a lot of, with the awards and then 2 articles. So a lot of Charles S. Roberts going on in this issue. And then we have the Charles S. Roberts Awards. This is what I pointed out in that other video, which I will put a listing of that, even though the Charles S. Roberts, I'm filming this before they're over, but they should be over by the time I post this. Here's a listing of the releases from 87 and the Fire and Movement Awards. Look at those real quick there. It's kind of hard to read. The print is so small. So anyway. Then we got Drive on Frankfurt. Here's that modern war game, World War III, talking about that. Here's Team Yankee and some more modern warfare. A lot of good articles here. A lot of printers. I found a lot of printers in this episode, in this magazine. All right, Central America. Now, this starts on page 30, and then I think it's the rest of the book, or most of the rest of the magazine. But there's a lot on Central America here, which is designed by James H. McQuaid. Additional design, Mark Herman and Michael E. Moore. And this was a Victory Games publication or game. Victory Games game. Here's an example of a counter there. See that there. And the maps, but there's a lot on this. Here's even a calendar to keep track of all your movements, your battle logs during 88 as you're playing Central America. Isn't that thoughtful of them? A lot of stuff on Central America. I don't have this game. It almost makes me want to get this game. If I read all this, do I still have to read the rules? I don't know. Here's design notes on Central America. Here's some scenarios for Central America. And I think these were all developed by the designer, James McQuaid. And look at this. We've got several scenarios here. And then we have a scenario analysis. More on Central America. Do we have a history chart here? Intervention in Central America. So look at that. Now, this whole issue is dedicated. Then we got, so that's 20 pages, almost 20 pages of Central America. Now we're back into Omaha Beachhead, Against the Reich, some other games by some other publishers, Rommel in North Africa by West End Games. A lot of West End games in this part. Air Superiority by Game Designs Workshop, Top Gun, Battleship, Knights of the Air. That's that one that people didn't like, or at least that survey didn't like. So a lot of good stuff here. Candidae, Ancients here. All right. Time Capsule, 1972, kind of comparing magazines from back then to today. Here's top Fire Movement reviews and analysis. So this is ranking some of their articles and how people liked them in the top 20 Fire Movement issue ratings. So, issue number 1's got the highest rating. Imagine that. Issue number 2's got the second highest rating. I think I see something. I think I see a trend. All right, now this is interesting. You probably won't be able to read it because it's really small here, but this is Fire Movement Independent Games Rating Chart. And so number 1 on this list is Yanks, which is a Advanced Squad Leader expansion. It comes in at overall at 8.15, and the worst on this list is Gettysburg 77, which is an Avalon Hill game, one of the old Avalon Hill games, and it comes in at 5.25. Now there's other ratings in here, but I'm just looking at the overall. They got all these kind of different statistics on it, and just so you know, 87% of all statistics are made up. Air and Armor, that's a reprint today. I mean, in modern day, back in 88, it came out in 86, it looks like. It has the release date here and everything. So this is kind of neat. This is something I might pour over for nostalgia and kind of see where some of these games, where they rank, where they fall. Here's Third Reich is a 70. That's kind of wild. Napoleon at Bay is a 68. Panzer Army Africa, 79. All right. Knights of the Air came in at 95. Well, beat Gettysburg, though, right? All right, that's a nice little ranking system there. Anyway, and that is pretty much the rest of this. So this really is, there's a Warlords ad there from Panther Games. Not familiar with that one. But there you have it. That is Fire and Movement 56, which is a lot of Charles S. Roberts stuff, but predominantly Central America advertisement. There's a lot of stuff on Central America. So if you're a fan of Central America or have Central America and you want to find out some strategy articles and designer notes that might not be in the regular fare, this might be something you want to look at. Anyway, thanks for stopping by, everybody. Thanks for watching.